Hi everyone, I'm Anneli Janssens and this is Art in 30. Today I'm going to show you how to paint a small painting. This is a 4x4 and I just want to show you how easy it is, even if you've never picked up a brush, you've never painted, but you've always kind of wanted to tap into that creative side. We can paint on the floor, we don't need to go buy big easels, we don't need to spend a lot of money on this. So I can provide a list of all the equipment that you need to purchase for painting a small painting. Just email our Lethbridge Artist Club email. So to get started, I'll show you this first. So we're going to kind of do something like this. It might not look exactly the same because every painting is always a little bit different, but it's generally an Alberta landscape. So the first thing you want to do, so when you have your canvas, we want to actually put the hardware on the back of it so that it'll be ready for hanging when you're ready. So I've just bought a bunch of these little hangy thingies. I don't know what they're called. They're just these little hook and eye with the little screw. And so what I've done here is, this is 4 inches, and I have measured the 2 inches right into the middle and made just a tiny little hole with the screwdriver. It's pretty easy. The wood is really soft, so you just kind of screw that in there. So we'll do that. And you can see my fabulous tool talents at play here. So then we can just, this one's actually a little bit big for this, so I'm going to turn it upside down. So you see it's here. If I flip it over, it's actually going to show above here, so this will work this way too. So there you go. You've got your hangy thingy. Hangy thingy, very important. All right, so today I'm going to show you how to paint with primary colors. So this painting has been painted with yellow, blue, red, and white, and a little bit of black in there. So when you mix the colors, you can get all these different shades, and I'll show you how to do the different things. So I'll put a little bit of black on the palette, or on the palette paper. So I forgot to tell you that I use palette paper. Palette paper is great because at the end you can just toss it in the garbage. You don't have to do any cleaning. So when you're first starting out, it works great, but you don't even have to buy palette paper actually. You can just use a yogurt lid, just turn it upside down. Anything kind of plastic you can use, and that'll work just great. And so there you've already saved probably $10 not having to buy a pad of palette paper. So let's just put these colors here. So you see we have red, yellow, and I can give you the brand names of what I like to use and the exact name of the colors then in an email, or you can ask on our Facebook page, Lethbridge Artist Club Facebook page. Then I'll put a little bit of white here. And really, I'm not a super expert on this, but I like to mess around with the paints and just kind of see what colors come out and what shades come out, and it's just a lot of fun. So we're going to start off, so make sure you're at the top where you put your tool here, or your hangy thingy. We're going to start off, let's just do the sky. So I'm just going to pull some of this blue out, add some white, and when you're painting the sky, when you decide where your horizon is, it's nice to have the horizon really light, and then kind of build up on the blue sky, like going darker and darker up to the top of the edge of the painting. That way it kind of gives you the perception of like some depth to the sky as well. So I'm going to go even a little bit lighter here. And then we'll just do maybe a third of the painting here. I'll just do it all this lighter shade here. And I wanted to show you that my brush is actually just a flat brush here. This is one of my favorite brushes. It's just flat. And it really works for my style. So whatever brushes you have, just try them out and see what you like. I know different brushes do different things, but it's really about figuring out what you like to use and how it works with your style. So here I'm not too worried about any of the brush strokes. I just want to kind of get this in here, and I'll make this all darker after. I just want to speed through this a little bit just to show you how easy it is. You know, you don't have to be Van Gogh or anything like that. You can just paint and have fun with it. Have fun with it because it's your masterpiece. You don't have to please anybody but yourself, and it's just awesome. I don't use very much water when I paint with the acrylic paints. I like to just use the paint itself, but when I'm doing a bigger area, obviously you have to kind of thin it down or you're going to use a lot of paint. So that again is your choice. So I'm using these gallery wrap canvases, which are really thick. So you'll see it's like this is probably about 1.5 inches thick. And I'm going to do the painting all the way around, so the scenery goes kind of around. So when you have it on the wall and you walk by, you can actually see the whole painting wrap around like that. Oh. So I like that because it really saves on any kind of framing costs or anything like that. So I like to do that, use these thicker ones. So I'm going to add a little bit more color. We've got kind of the really light here. This is where you can get creative with the lines and strokes for your sky. You know, use just, if you want a painterly look, you know, just use little brush strokes here and just leave them maybe a tiny little bit darker here. Up here. So sometimes when you use that ultramarine blue straight up, it'll look like a real stormy sky. So sometimes it's nice to put that into the corner of the painting. And again, have fun with it. And of course, when you're choosing your canvas size, you know, when you're painting with a small canvas, don't have a huge brush because, you know, you're just doing such a small space. It's kind of nice to have a appropriate sized brush for the size of the canvas too. So we live in a really beautiful area, obviously, with our mountains and our field prairies and stuff. So what we're going to do is a landscape of the mountains and the prairies, our favorite thing. I don't know about you guys, but I love the prairies. Obviously, I love the mountains, but I'm going to give you guys a little bit of homework at the end of this. Next time you're driving on the prairies, look around at the color. Even in the midwinter, you know, look around at the color in the fields and stuff, and you'll find that there's tons of color. Even if there's snow, there's color. So just really appreciate that prairie view and see when we're painting, we're going to add color to it. Even though there's snow, there's yellows, there's, you know, all kinds of, there's actually reds and purples when you look really closely. So it's interesting because people are always like, oh, prairies are so boring, you know, but they're actually full of life, even in the dead of winter. So that's my little plug for prairies. So let's do the mountains. So here, I like doing mountains in the distance, just kind of purpley, really light purpley gray. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix a little bit of, oh, I should have done that over here. Just kind of start making a purple here, a gray purple. And again, the more red you add, the browner it actually gets. And like I said before, I'm definitely not an expert with this, but I have painted quite a few paintings, and I've just kind of mess around, like I said, with the colors, get the shade that I want. So here I've got the blue and the red, and it's kind of coming a light purple or mauve, whatever you want to call those colors. Maybe a little bit more white here. So when we're doing kind of the mountains in the distance, you want them to be light, because if you're ever looking at them, you know, they are almost a blue, like a light blue in real life. But since we painted the sky a light blue, I want to add a little bit of different shade to that, so it comes a little bit more gray or purple. Still a little bit lighter. So it's a lot of mixing and looking at it, but so you just, you know, just start kind of putting it in here. I have a little bit of, like I didn't mix this paint completely, so it'll give me some natural shadowing just by doing it kind of not fully mixed like right here on my palette. So we're just, and this is where you can have like fun with the brush strokes too, and just play around with it. Art should be fun, you know, and don't stress too much about the final outcome. Just paint and enjoy, and pat yourself on the back for completing a painting. Right, so we've got some mountains here. Okay, and our mountains often have snow, so we can add some snow to that. Let's just do a little bit of shadowing first though. So I'm going to grab a little bit of the blue, maybe a tiny little bit of this black. This is actually not full black, it's called Payne's Gray. And it's one of my favorite dark things. You actually don't really need to have a black when you're painting with the three, because if you start mixing them, they'll come out pretty dark, but sometimes I just cheat a little bit and like to have it. So we'll put a little bit of shadow, like darker spots in here, so it kind of makes it seem like there's some rock happening. And again, you don't have to, you can just make it really loose. You know, you can see some brush strokes here. I really like that look where it looks really artsy. I don't know any of the proper words for anything, so I just make my own. All right. Let's see if we can add a little bit here. So I keep trying to promote, you know, art and painting and drawing to just everyone. And when I hear people say that, you know, I'm not creative at all, I don't know how to do anything but stick figures, I'm like, everybody is creative. Everybody has a creative side. It's just not always exactly what you might think is creative. No, what you might think is not creative is creative. That's what I'm trying to say here. So just doing little things like this, you know, will help you to see that, hey, I can do stuff, you know, we can do stuff, and it's so relaxing. It just really gets rid of the stresses and makes you feel good. So let's put some snow on here. So maybe, you know, we can use the white here, just kind of mix it a little bit. I never like to use straight white because it can be pretty harsh. So when the light catches it, it looks nicer if there's a little bit of color attached to it, right? So don't just use pure white. Just add a little bit there. And we'll put some snow in here, into the valley here. Maybe there's a little valley. Sometimes the snow is usually on the peaks. So you can just dab it on. And I'm almost using just the tiny tip. The tip of the flat brush here, so. I'm going to now, let's just paint the field here first. So I'm going to use a little bit of yellow. I'm trying to make like a gold, you know, like that wheat color. I will admit that I have a hard time nailing this one with these, but you know, keep playing with it. Add more white here. I'm gonna do just a tiny little bit of blue in here to give it that a little bit of a greeny tinge, and a little bit more white. Okay, this is, I do want to mix this one so there's not like this bright yellow, like where's the purpley mountain one didn't need to be so mixed, but this one I kind of want to have mixed a little bit better. And I have some of that yellow on this brush. Okay, so let's just paint this in here, this field, and then again use some different strokes here. So you can try and do maybe a little bit of a hill, so do it kind of diagonal, you know. Again, I'm going to go all the way around, and you don't have to be super worried about the lines or going into the mountain there. Just, we'll just kind of mix that up in there. And then we'll soften it up a little bit because it's pretty yellow, but we'll add snow and rocks and stuff. It's really funny explaining when you're painting, because you know, I'm just used to sitting here painting and just kind of thinking, and starting to talk about what I'm doing is it's not that easy actually. You know, we're just kind of figuring this out here. So I like to figure things out as I go along and see what looks good and what I like. So I'm kind of pulling a little bit, if you see a little bit of that color coming in through there from the mountain here, starts giving it some dimension. It gives you a feeling like there's some, there's a little bit of a hill there. And then I'm gonna do the bottom. Actually, I should probably do that last. I'm gonna do that after, because then I'll dry a little. Oh no, I can hold it like this. So look at, I'm holding it like this. So this again, I prefer doing these small paintings in my hand. I tried them on the easel and I felt like they were just bouncing around, and I don't know, I just didn't have the control. And for the small ones, I feel like when I'm holding them, I just have better control for applying the brush strokes, because they're so light that they just kind of fly around. So, and see, I could be doing this right in front of the TV, watching TV while everyone else is doing whatever, and I could be just painting away, watching The Walking Dead. My favorite show. Okay, so we've got the base for the field. So now I want to, so we've got some movement here. I want to do a tree line into the edge of the mountains, because we often see a tree line. And again, it's totally up to you. And I mean, I've done a bunch of these little ones, and I don't always do a tree line, but I actually like doing them. So I'm mixing a little bit of a green here. But it's going to be a little bit more blue than green because it's in the distance, right? So, and not super dark either. So you see how that's kind of greeny blue here. Maybe just a little bit more yellow. No, that's too green. So see how I try something and it's like, no. Let's mix this up again. Actually, I might add a tiny little bit of red to it too, just for fun. Then it kind of gives that gray green for those trees in the distance. So now I'm just kind of using the flat end of the tree, and I'm just going to dab these in here. So it's not a bunch. It's not too detailed at all. You can just flick them in there like so, and you can tell they're trees. And I will add some shadows to it. So, and try not to make them all the same height, but you know, some smaller ones, maybe even a space where there isn't any. And then, oh, that's still kind of wet, so I'm kind of holding this weirdly. So just kind of pulling it there. And then we'll get a little bit of this darker, the Payne's gray. Or if you don't have the black and you've mixed a darker shade with the blue and the red, you know, you can add that in there, and then we'll just put some shadow, just tiny little dabs that kind of give you the shadowing. All right, so what are we going to do now? So let's do a little bit of, I'm going to maybe do a rock or something here in the foreground. I've got a little bit of lines in here with the snow. There's like a rock. We could do a big tree here in the front if you wanted to, but let's maybe start off with that a rock formation. I'll take a little bit of that gray, add it to the purple here, or the Payne's gray, and maybe just in a rock you can just kind of pull it in here. And again, you can just use brush strokes like so. Okay, and then we'll use a little bit, whatever you have for your dark, if it's the ultramarine and red, or the Payne's gray, we'll just put some shadows. Just a little bit more rocky. All right, so let's, so I just did the rock here, so let's just add, you know, depending on what time of year this is, I'm gonna make it kind of a fall for snow. So there might be a little bit of grass still. There might be a little bit of green. So let's add just a tiny little bit of green here. So for the grass, I'm just pulling down with this brush this way and just kind of dabbing here and there, and then always adding just a little bit of shadow, a little bit of darker in there for the shadows. Maybe not that dark, so just see how we're just kind of pulling that out, and then we'll add the snow after, but let's just do that. And back here we got kind of a messed up rock, but we'll fix that. The beauty of painting is that you can go back and fix it. So we'll just kind of put some shadow back here too, or a little bit darker. And I'm just gonna rinse that. So you might wanna actually also change your water, you know, once it starts getting kind of muddy, because it'll start making your painting a little bit muddy too, like the colors muddy if you don't have fresh water. So I should actually probably change that here. So I'm just kind of fixing up this rock a little bit. Thanks for joining me at Art in 30. It's Anneli Janssens. And if you have any questions about the materials I use, the types of brushes, the types of paint, just please email me at lac.artist@yahoo.com.